Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Acts chapter 11, verses 19 through 21. And you and I need to speak to those that are different than us, those that have different interests than us. You may not like that particular hobby that person has, but it'd be good for you to talk to them about it. There may be something that's different about that person that perhaps frightens you, perhaps scares you, and you just feel really uncomfortable around them because they are different from you. Well, I encourage you folks, we as Christians are called to be courageous in these areas and to show no distinction, but to be kind and hospitable, and especially we would want to speak to everyone, particularly those that are different from us. So the next time you're sitting beside someone or you're walking by someone and they are different than you, why don't you try to engage in a friendly conversation with them? Why don't you try to get to know those people that are different than you, perhaps at work. And it takes effort. It takes some extra work because it's easy to talk to those people that are just like us, that have the same interests. And if we're not careful, particularly in our workplaces and the places that we spend a lot of time, it's really easy for us to talk to those folks. It's the folks that are different than us that we have to make a concerted, intentional effort to go and talk to them. So we need to speak to those different from you. And guess what? That is what the early church did. In fact, the place where Christians were first called Christians was at Antioch. And these Christians told people about Jesus, and they told people that were different than them about Jesus. So now, those who were scattered because of the persecution that arose over Stephen traveled as far as Phoenicia and Cyprus and Antioch. This is really the markers of saying, okay, this gospel message is spreading all over the place. And they went to these places speaking to the word to no one except Jews. Oh, that's a bad one. Not that Jews are bad. No, Jews are wonderful. They are God's people. But they were speaking the gospel to people that were just like them. But what does it say on verse 20? But there were some of them, men of Cyprus and Cyrene, who on coming to Antioch spoke to the Hellenists, also preaching the Lord Jesus. Cyprus, guess who was from Cyprus? A guy by the name of Barnabas, and he's going to be pretty instrumental in the church in Antioch. He's going to be pretty important when it comes to the great Apostle Paul's life. We have already seen the Apostle Paul be introduced to the other believers and leaders by Barnabas, and Barnabas is going to have an even bigger role here in a little bit. But when these folks got to Antioch, they spoke to the Hellenists. Now, a Hellenist would be somebody that spoke Greek. That is their language and that is their culture, and they spoke to them. And this would be people that were different from them, and this is why we should be speaking to people that are different than us. This is a good example for us to follow. They spoke to the Hellenists, and then notice, not only didn't just leave it there, how you doing, also preaching the Lord Jesus. They shared the gospel with them. Verse 21, and what was the result of speaking to people that were different than them? And then what was the result of spreading the gospel? The hand of the Lord was with them. That's a great promise. If you talk to people that are different than you and you share the gospel with them, the Lord is indeed going to bless your church. He's going to bless your spiritual life. The hand of the Lord was with them, and a great number who believed turned to the Lord. They saw salvations. They saw baptisms. What a wonderful thing. And it all started because they spoke to the Hellenists. They spoke to people that were different than them. So your assignment is to speak to those different from you and to be intentional in forming relationships with those folks. I pray that has been a blessing to you. I'll see you all in the next video.